I do social media now for the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, and all that is I'm like the Uber hillbilly. I'm like a hillbilly spokesmodel. I'm Vanna White for the hillbilly people, to show that you can be educated and still sound like this, and that you can have big jobs and come home. And I'm trying to think who else is some kind of our whole culture. We were talking earlier about this. Our whole culture's been taken over by Hollywood and made into a caricature because it's so lucrative. And there's a whole multiple music industries built up out of our culture. They're very lucrative. But the actual specimens of the culture, like myself, people don't actually want to be around. They want to discriminate or think that, like there's a book out that's a bestseller now that says something on the front like, when you use bad English, I think you're stupid, or what's the name of it? I judge you when you use bad English. Well, whoever wrote that, I would like to say, we don't speak bad English. We speak a dialect of English. It's its own language, and that it's so much more expressive than mainstream English spoken in a televised newscaster accent. Even though it's a good skill. I wish I could talk like a newscaster if I wanted to. I can't. I'm stuck with this. But it's those vowel sounds, the elongated vowel sounds, the sing-song thing, extremely expressive of emotional content and meaning on much smaller words. People, comment to me a lot about the words in my book. They're not hard. You don't need a dictionary when you're using that book, reading that book. And it's because our functional vocabulary is very small, but the content's conveyed in vowel sounds.
That must have been difficult to express in writing, if so much of it is nuanced.
Yeah, and Algonquin took almost all the dialect out. There was a war about it, and I barely was able to keep any of it in, because I speak in it, and Daddy does too, and they wanted us to sound smart, so they made it us speak with more standard English.
What was it like to go through that editing process? I had no idea they would change something as central as that.
The sound of it, because the sound was what was driving it. And I'm a comedy writer, and comedy is extremely dependent on sound and timing. The number of syllables is musical, and when I was in law school, there was a bunch of Chinese people had come to Knoxville to work in various things like the car industry or supporting, and they had a little school to teach Mandarin Chinese to their children while they were here. And I found out about it. I said, can I go? And they said, sure. And I had to go sit in one of those little bitty desks and with all these little tiny Chinese children. And I was the only one who could speak Mandarin without an accent. And it was mystifying the parents. And they said, why are our children speaking with an English accent, an American English accent, and you don't have an accent? And I said, because our dialect is tonal. The sing-song dialect is tonal, like
that's fascinating.
An Asian tonal language. And so people making fun of this hillbilly dialect, they don't understand the content. It's conveying actual, because do you know enough about Chinese words like
yes,
ma. So it's different words.
Which is why it's so difficult to learn for most Americans.
Yes.
Oh, that's fascinating. And did you feel like the editors took a lot of those nuances out of your book?
Yeah, they said they needed it to do that, to mainstream it. And after all this time, I think, that's legitimate, and it probably is true. If it was written in dialect the way I'd written it, it would have been hard to read. And some people, plus they don't even know the sounds, so even though I know the sounds that I'm trying to convey, they wouldn't know them.
Well, that's true. I wouldn't know how to say the words with the lilt, and even if I were trying to, and even though I'm dying to mimic your accent because I love it.
Go ahead, try.
I can. Oh no, I'd be so bad.
The thing, there's only one word. Well, there's like two that you could live there, as long as you know how to say hey.
Hey.
That's our all-purpose greeting, and it's polite. That sounds rude or flip. It's not. That's our how do you do? It's hey. And the other one's well. And that's when somebody has said something and you just don't even want to have to say what you think back, you know, or just so out beyond the pale. It's hyper polite. Our language is hyper polite, so you don't want to ever say anything negative. So there's all kind of tone of voices of going, well, 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 well. You know, and really it means, oh my God.
You know, I know that actors get all these dialect coaches when they go in to do something like Cold Mountain, which we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
Is there anybody that you think does it well, and who does it terribly?
Well, I don't know any of them that did well. You know who did it well? Died recently. Natasha Richardson was in this ridiculous movie, Nell, and I thought she was from North Carolina. She's English. She was married to Liam Neeson. She had it exactly right. But people think there's a generic Southern accent, and that even my best friend thought, you know, we dated for years before he realized. He said, you know, I can actually hear the difference now. There's a, you know, a deep South veranda sitting slaves in the field accent. We don't have that. We have a hillbilly accent. Louisiana's totally different. Totally different sounds. You can hear Spanish in it, even in their French speaking. You hear these Spanish sounds.
I think you hear it. I don't know if I could hear it. I don't know that. Well, maybe if I put you side by side,
Yeah.
I'd be able to hear it.
Yeah.
She's cutting me off because I get so fascinated talking to people that I don't know. But before we quit, you did mention that you've written some other books that haven't been published yet. Are you thinking about publishing anything else? Is there anything we can look forward to?
I've written a whole bunch of different stuff, but once you publish a memoir, it's a strange experience. And so I think real carefully now about what I publish, because everything I write's always about, you know, the people I know, all my best friends. And so I don't know what I want to publish. I think what I'd rather do is have a mystery series that's set. A friend of mine said, you know, I showed her what I had written, and she said it's like CSI meets National Geographic in the park, you know, in Smokies Park. So,
well, that'd be a great place to set a mystery series.
Yeah, and I've written one, but I don't know if I want to put it out because all the people in it are actually real people, and the things are all, you know, actually happen. But you can say it's fiction, and so I may do that. But I don't want to put people out like I did this first time, where you know, people are trying to guess who they are. And, you know, that's annoying. If it's me, I don't care, but you have to have all the other characters in the book too, and it's really not fair to do that to other people.